Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, and good day to all who are watching. Let us get a few of our windows straightened out here. Let's make sure that I turned on the YouTube. Yes, looks like we got the YouTube on. All right, very good. All right, good day. Happy Friday. How's it going to Beata Graph over in the YouTube? Nice to see you, my friend. I should have put my keys away earlier, but I did not, so let me just put those there. Let's do the introduction for anybody that might be new. This is a weekly deep dive live stream program, which is on some weeks. Let's see, what are we trying to pull up here? We want circuitpython.org. You know what I should pull up is the YouTube playlist page. Let's do that real quick. I don't normally pull that up, but so you can see I'm on the in my own little feed there. Let's get the what I want really is the playlist. Is this one here. So deep dives. Ooh, that's gonna talk though. Actually, I don't want that. So deep dive playlist is where you can view all the deep dives. For anybody that didn't know, if you want to go back through the history, you can see that. So this is a weekly live stream program. Some weeks it is with Scott Shawcroft, the lead developer of CircuitPython. When Scott's not available, then I am here instead, as long as I'm available, which is the case this week. Scott's not available this week, so I'm doing the stream this week. This is the last deep dive of the year, I do believe, so I won't be here next week or the week after. I don't believe Scott's going to be either, so I think this is the last one for the year. So thank you, everybody, for watching all the deep dives that you have this year, and I know certainly I look forward to coming back around next year, to the extent that I am needed. And I imagine Scott would say the same as well. Ortega Computatiacon. I probably got the name wrong there. Apologies for that. Hi there. Nice to catch a live one. Thanks. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for tuning in. How's it going to DJ Devin as well? We've got a hug report upcoming for DJ Devin, but let's get through the intro. So you can see the whole history of the deep dives here if you want to. We are typically working on CircuitPython stuff, so Scott's the lead developer, and the name Deep Dive is because he is typically working, deep inside the internals of CircuitPython. I typically work a little bit higher level, either, on stuff that is not quite as adventurous when we do venture inside the core, but oftentimes we also spend time more at the library level and the project level, which is more where we're at today, is kind of in library land, working with some Python code, ultimately trying to make an enhancement for one of the libraries to make a new feature. If you are brand new to this, though, or you're catching the video in the future and you don't know what I'm talking about, CircuitPython is the main project which is worked on in this live stream program, no matter who is doing it that particular week. You can learn more about CircuitPython at circuitpython.org right here. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. In fact, I have one here, which is kind of almost like a little tablet. This one is. But these microcontrollers come in all different shapes and sizes, and there are 468 of them currently that support CircuitPython. This allows them to connect to a computer, most typically via USB, although there is Bluetooth and web as well. So they'll connect to the computer. There will be a code.py file on the drive that shows up, especially on the ones that do connect via USB. They'll show up as like a thumb drive, basically. On that thumb drive, there's a code.py file. You edit that file, put Python code inside of it, and then the microcontroller, whenever that file is saved or whenever the microcontroller boots up, it will automatically execute the Python code that is inside of that file for you. It can interact with all sorts of other hardware peripherals. In today's case, I have a PyPortal Titano, which is also listed on this page over here, PyPortal Titano. This one has a display, as you can see, and a touch overlay, a resistive touch overlay on top of that display, which allows it to get XY coordinates when we touch it, either with our finger or stylus or whatever. So all different shapes and sizes, though. That's just the one that I am working with right now. You can see all these over at circuitpython.org/downloads for the whole list of them. Always need to say thank you to Adafruit. Adafruit is the company that is financially backing the CircuitPython project. So Scott, who does this live stream, as well as a couple other folks, are paid by Adafruit to work on the project full-time. Some folks like me are paid by Adafruit to work on the project part-time. And all of us do very much appreciate it. And if you want to help support the project and Adafruit, you can do that by just going over to their website, adafruit.com, and purchase hardware from them. They design and manufacture the microcontroller devices themselves, like the PyPortal Tano that I have right here is an Adafruit device. It is in stock if you wanted to get one. They make this and all sorts of other microcontroller devices. They also have loads of things that you can connect to your microcontroller to do stuff with, be it a camera kit or displays or breakouts for sensors or all kinds of little electronic doodads. Pretty much anything that you could imagine you can find over there. So get yourself some new toys and help support CircuitPython while you do it, and thank you if you choose to do so. Let's see. Sorry for that. Yeah, no worries. Not at all. Not at all. No worries for the name. More like a Latino American oriented name. The translation would be something again to Ortega computation. I see. Nice. Okay, so we are working with the PyPortal Titano and specifically the hug report for DJ Devon. I should have pulled this page up in this browser, but unfortunately I didn't. So let's get ourselves back there by randomly tracing these breadcrumbs. Today's hug report is for DJ Devon, who has created this whole project, Featherweather project. Let me drop the link go. Is it further up? No, it's in the first one, right? The link, yeah. Oh, there it is. I think I saw it. Yep. So this is the link to the full project. Oops, this is a link to the full project. I'll put it in the Discord. Folks can grab it and put it in the YouTube or Twitch or whatever as needed. I cannot see the Twitch chat, by the way. I can see the Discord and the YouTube. If anybody out there is watching on Twitch, I know we are live on Twitch as well. If you happen to be watching on Twitch and want to ask a question or make a comment or something that you want me to see, unfortunately, Twitch is not the place for it. Either Discord or YouTube are the places to go for that. This, though, Featherweather project, thank you to DJ Devon who's made this. This is looking super cool. As part of this project, DJ Devon wanted to wait and correct me if I'm wrong here. This is my understanding of it. So if I am incorrect in some part of that, feel free to drop in the chat the true story. But my understanding is this device, it can connect to the Wi-Fi network, obviously, and you want a way to be able to enter the Wi-Fi network, name and or password on the device itself. Typically, that would be a thing that you would put in like settings.toml, for instance, or the old way would be secrets.py. DJ Devon wants a way on this project to be able to put that in on the device, just like you would kind of on your phone, right? You know, with your phone, you don't like connect it to the computer and then from the computer tell the phone which Wi-Fi network to use. No, you go to the Wi-Fi settings and you find the network you want and you type in the password on a little, soft touchscreen keyboard. And so DJ Devon has put this together with a grid layout, and it looks super cool with all these different labels inside of it. And the part that we need to do, the part that I intend to work on today, is once we have this super cool looking grid layout with this whole QWERTY keyboard on it, how can we figure out which key was pressed, basically? We're going to end up with XY coordinates that come from our touch driver. We want to take those XY coordinates and figure out, for XY whatever, is that the U key, for instance? If the XY coordinates were right where my mouse is at here, then we're going to say, we want to be able to know which key got touched. That way, ultimately, you can type that character into the input and then, eventually save it in order to save the password in there. But before we can start worrying about typing it up here, before we can worry about saving it or doing anything else, the core problem is take those XY coordinates, which are going to be coming from the touch driver, figure out which key in the keyboard actually got pressed. Mostly for family members that are used to the device having everything self-contained. Nice. Yes. Okay, so I have a portion of this code here that's rendering the grid layout with all of these nice letters and characters and digits inside of it. What I don't have yet is any touchscreen code. There was touchscreen code. Whoops, this is the Advent. Let's go over to the device workspace here. There was some touchscreen code. I think I left it, but I commented out because I'm not sure. STMP SPY. I'm not sure if this is the same touch driver or not. So that's one thing. This project was made for when DJ Devon made it. It runs on a 3.5-inch TFT Feather wing with a ESP32S3. In my case, I have the PyPortal Titano, which is the same size display, but there are a lot of other differences about it. It's not the same main chip. It's not the same. I don't think it's the exact same touch driver, although we're going to find out right here. So let's pull up a Titano page. Sorry, I'm late. No worries. Yeah, how's it going, Jeff? Never need to apologize for being late. Come and go as you need. Not a problem at all. The video, the VOD's always there if you want to catch it after the fact. And even if not, that's cool too. If you got other stuff going on, no worries at all. Let's get to the guide. There should be something about the touch in here, right? Let's see if we can find like a basic touch. Not though, actually, on this one. So there is PyPortal hardware FAQ, maybe this. All right, let's go back to here. Let's search on touchscreen, make touchscreen. Let's see anything about the chip or anything. Touchscreen, resistive touchscreen. Let's not see anything about the chip. Okay, so we could figure it out from maybe looking into the PyPortal library. That's one way we could do it. STPM, STMPE 610 is the Featherwing one. There. Okay, all right, let's go different route here. PyPortal, circuit, Python, GitHub. We're gonna go to PyPortal library, and inside of there, it should be initializing the touch. XL. Yes, here we go. Perfect. Yeah, okay. It is slightly different. It's not that STMP one. It's this Adafruit touchscreen driver. So we're gonna gank this. Drop that in our code. And I cut out a lot of stuff, so I have a lot of imports that aren't used. So we might as well just do it in the same place, right? So we can move that import, though. We don't need that. Just be randomly here. We then go, what? Debug we don't have. We can just print. That's fine for now. Self. We don't have self. We're just going to say touchscreen equals Adafruit touchscreen. We do, yeah, we should have all those on board. The next problem that we'll worry about is our calibration, but let's go one problem at a time. And so let's just do this, and then let's get let's go to Adafruit touchscreen now, actually. Adafruit touchscreen, GitHub. CircuitPython, should I have done CircuitPython? Yep, CircuitPython. 4-wire resistive touchscreen. So this one doesn't use SPY, it's just a 4-wire, I guess. I think it's like 4 analogs or whatever. They have 0 to 1024 or maybe 65,000, whatever. Actually, no. Here we go. So we can say now in our loop, if it is got a touch point, E equals touchscreen, touch point, if P, print P. Let's do that. I do have TO, but I do not have auto reload, so we need to auto reload it, or manual reload it, I should say, init touchscreen. Okay, we have that. Should I go the other way around? So right now we're not worried about which key, but we're just like, do I get points? Yes. And then do the points roughly correlate with low numbers top left, big numbers bottom right? And yeah, they do roughly correlate with that. One thing we could do to make it even better than roughly correlate is, let's skank a copy of this real quick. Next hug report for the night goes to C. Grover, I think is who made what I'm about to use here in just a second. But is it in a different library? I've done this before, right? Is it in a different library? No, it's in this one. We want to use this to get some calibration values. So when we initialize the touchscreen, all the way back up here, we had these random, they're not random, but we had these numbers right here that are just kind of here as hard-coded numbers. This calibrator is going to help us find numbers that are like dialed in for our specific touchscreen and our specific circumstances and just general vibe in life and the universe, so that it can give us the best possible XY coordinates, which is going to be good because we are aiming for pretty tiny little rectangles. So we want pretty precise touch points if we can. First thing what we want though is a copy of this. Let's just call this QWERTY test. Now in CodePy, I'm going to grab calibrator. Save that, reload. Touchscreen might work for the Featherwing. I chose to use the base library based on the abstract 50 helper library. Nice, yeah, the Featherwing library is nice. Use calibrator to make, yeah, it's amazing the difference that it can make. What do we have here? Incompatible. Probably we have what, something that's being display text, would it be? Or touchscreen? But I mean, we just used touchscreen, right? SimpleIO. It's probably SimpleIO. So our problem here, it says it on the screen there. It's kind of small, sorry. I guess maybe it would have said it over here. Wait, where's our TO? Oh, wow, why are we in this one? Okay, let's close these. It does say it here as well. Incompatible MPY file. What that means is there's an MPY file that was made probably for CircuitPython 8 point something, but what we have is CircuitPython 9 point something, and they're not compatible. In fact, one thing we should just do while we're here is update the PyPortal, because right now we're on Alpha 2, and I think there's Alpha a lot more than 2 at this point. 5 or 6 at least. Six. Let's do that. Bootloader. And substituted those values. Nice. Yep. Calibrator will spit out some values for us once we run it and follow the instructions on it, and then we can copy paste those into the CodePy. Sorry, I broke that reading and sharing of the chat there across a little bit of dating action. Go. Okay, we do still have incompatible MPY file, but I mean, we didn't change the MPY file, so we expect that. But now we should be on a newer boot out. Is on here still though, which I really hate when it does this to me. I start the question if anything we're looking at is real, and it's not that fun. Prefer to just know that everything we're looking at is real. Then stuff like this happens where it's like, is that really what's in this file? I kind of don't think that's really what's in this file. Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure that's what's in this file, so I'm pretty sure PyCharm is lying to me right now. Probably should have closed TO. Good thing it doesn't just keep going back there, huh? Can we believe what our editor says? Still no. That is mighty unfortunate. Am I looking at the wrong file? What's wrong? So like with boot out, it doesn't matter, right? The contents of this file don't really matter, but like the contents of the code file matter kind of a lot. And if I can't really trust the editor to be showing me the files that are actually currently on the device, it's kind of like sketchy to just go on with trying to write the file. Gosh, that is... Man. Okay, whatever, I guess. Let's try one more thing. Unplug, replug. That close, let all this stuff close. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I know this doesn't matter, right? The contents of boot out does not matter at all, right? It doesn't matter if it's a little bit out of date or if it's even the wrong number. It still wouldn't matter, but I really want to be able to trust the text that is in the primary editor that I'm using to edit the code. Like, trust that it is actually the code that is on the device right now, currently. Okay, we are here now. So let's get back to our guess of, I believe it is probably DisplayIO, so we want to go circup. I'm going to just do uninstall DisplayIO and then install DisplayIO, and that should give us the latest one. And importantly, it will give us the one that is compatible with 9.0 or 9.x. Okay, very good. Now we have calibrator. Use the stylus to swipe slightly beyond the 4 edges of the visible display area. So stylus, little red box is going to follow us. We basically want to go to all of the edges. And once we have gone kind of round and touched each edge, what you'll notice is now the box is way better at tracking where the stylus is at. Give it once more on each edge for good luck. And then we will grab these, which are now the calibration values. Put them back into our original CodePy, which was now code QWERTY. There. Save that. And then what I want to do is actually, I bet you this is actually on here, wasn't it? Yeah, touch calibrate is actually already on my device. I did not necessarily need to grab it from the example. That's right. So what we'll do is we'll grab code QWERTY test, and we're now going to put that back into CodePy. Overwrite our calibration. Relaunch Alpha 6, still running 827 on the Featherweather, extending it to maintain stable. Yeah, I try to just always get the newest stuff. That way I can be potentially finding and reporting bugs. But I was behind by a few on this. I don't use this device as much. Yeah, that's true. DisplayIO has had a ton of changes with 9, breaking stuff as well. Especially if you are using an external display like you would be for your Featherwing. That's a good, yeah, very good point. So I have modified the code to just be doing board.display, which is built in. But yeah, if you have an external display like 4-wire and all kinds of things, bus display, I think, and some other stuff, like all kinds of things related to the display are now in different modules. So you need to change your imports if you want your code to work on the new versions. Okay, so we should be getting our touch points now, and our touch points should be like pretty darn good at this point. So like our screen is 480 by 320. Like in the far corner down here, you know, we're pretty close to 480 by 320. We're not like exact, but that's fine. We should be good enough at this point, I think. So what we're going to be doing now is taking those two numbers, those XY numbers, and we need to solve which cell within the grid at that location. And in my mind, the approach for this I think that I am interested in to try first is in the grid layout. So grid layout is what's positioning all these things in this nice square thing. So we already have get cell tuple. We already have get cell tuple, which takes the cell coordinates, which would be like 0, 0 would be this cell, either 1, 0 or 0, 1. I don't actually know. Probably 1, 0, but again, I don't actually know. One of those two would be this one, 2, 0, 3, 0, so on. You know, 0, 1, or perhaps 1, 0, the opposite of whatever this was would be here, and they would count up. So we can easily take cell coordinates and get back an object. Let's make sure that that works for the multi-spanned cells. So like enter spans multiple columns. So does slash, but it's only 2. Enter does 3. Space does even a lot more. Let's actually do space. So space would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's call it 6. As long as we're somewhere in the middle, that's all I really want to test for is like, does this find space, even though we're going to ask it about a single grid and space is multiple. So let's say 6 and then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want either 4, 6 or 6, 4. Let's just do some test action on that. Let's say print layout dot get cell. Let's just say 6. I think it's going to be X and then Y. So let's go 6, 4. I could be wrong. It's 50-50. And then that's going to give us the cell, which is going to be like what? That's going to be like a thing. Oh, hey, we have, this could be helpful. This could be helpful. Maybe. Well, that's going to be the DisplayIO content. So in our case, that is a label because all these things right here, they have created a label and then added it to the grid at a given XY coordinate location and at a given cell size. 0, 0 is first row, 1, 0 is the second row, and so on. Sounds like math. Yes, definitely we're going to have some math coming up. Have reached the portion of the program that is math. You could have 6 keys for space, giving them... Yeah, I think we won't need to, but I'm not sure. That's what we need to figure out is if it's going to just handle it for us, which is going to be awesome if it does, or if we need to actually worry about the fact that some of our things span. I think it's just going to handle it for us, though, so we'll see. So get the cell at 6, 4. That's going to give us a label, so we could just say .text, and that should give us the text from our label to print out. And so that will be space if it's the space bar. Or it will not print anything at all if... Okay, here we go. So it says it does not contain those coordinates. I think maybe I should have been cell coordinates. No, it's wanting a tuple. Did I get them backwards? I must have got them backwards. Down first, maybe. Down first. No, it doesn't contain 4, 6 either. Really? Let me see here. I need to get this. Let's go into Monsku. Could do 6. Okay, yeah. Why do we not have a 4-6? I think that's not true, is it? Right? We should index out does not contain cell at coordinates. Okay, so maybe the truth is it does not actually handle this. So let's look at the actual logic here. So we're passing in those coordinates. We're saying for index and cell in enumerate the cell content list. If the grid position is equal to the cell coordinates, then it returns that. So yeah, it is not actually going to work. If we wanted it to work, we would need, like right now, without changing anything else, if we wanted it to work, we would need to pass the left edge of space, I think. Let's validate that, which I need to actually see the thing spawn again before I know what it will be. Very on topic for my own work today. Nice. You're working on some kind of touchscreen situation as well. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so that would be actually. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm still no closer to knowing if it's 6-4 or 4-6. Let's go with my original one, 6-4. And then what we would say though is instead of 6, it would actually be 4. So 4-4. Which means it doesn't matter, which means we get to put off knowing which of our 50-50 is actually right until we choose a different thing to test with. It's kind of poetic and amusing in a way. So I pressed save, but now my editor is a little bit ghosty on the mouse. It's not ideal. Hello? And it is not the day for PyCharm, I guess. Those false file contents. Now we're just locked up. I usually don't. I mean, like, honestly, I don't usually have issues. Occasionally, it will do something that drives me a little batty, but it's actually pretty bad. Like, even this instance over here is locked up. I assume it's like trying to write and like spazzing out and failing. If we just give it the old reset, I think that will probably get PyCharm back. Cannot save. Unable to write data. Let's make sure that it's not full or something. Like maybe it was full. I don't know. Got wrecked by that recently. Honestly, I should be checking if it's full way earlier. Okay, we have plenty of space. 2.4 megs. I mean, microcontroller terms. Getting some of the new products ready for the big RPi, mostly kernel and device tree stuff. Nice. Deep in the Raspberry Pi inner workings. If only we could have qualia-based virtual keyboard on those touchscreens. Those long touchscreen on the long display, the keyboard will actually compute a USB HD key code that could be directly used for emulation. That's for print hello. Okay, so they are row first. Okay, so it was, yeah, so 6-4 would have been right if it worked. 6-4 would have been right if it worked. And then 4-4 I think can work. But we are in safe mode. Which I guess is probably why the right failed earlier. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess these things are probably related. What I don't know is, did this get saved or not? So we are unfortunately a little bit back to a scenario. Okay, yeah, did. Back to a scenario where I'm not positive if what's in CodePy is like the current state of the drive, since it kind of spazzed out when I tried to save it. But we made it. It does do space, and so that handles our question of does it just handle that for us, which is to say no, it does not. So really what we would need to do is we either will need to do what? We will need to account for those different sized cells. Let me just print cell and see what kind of data we have here. Hopefully we have like size and stuff. Okay, so our objects have these things. We have, it's a dictionary, we have content, which is our label, we have cell size, we have cell anchor point, and we have grid position. So what we need to do is check not only if, so right now we're just doing the most basic check of, did they pass the coordinates that are the coordinates for this cell? It's a 10-3, so maybe, no, columns are first. My 6-4 was wrong. Yeah, my 6-4 should be wrong, I think, because columns are first. If 10-3 can exist, but maybe this is backwards from the other thing? I don't know. We need to check not only the cell coordinates, though, but also the size. So we want to say... Yeah, we want to say not only, like, is, like, if it is equal to that, but also... We could either just have, like, a big OR, but this is going to be kind of gnarly. I think I'm gonna write them as two different if statements. So this would be exact location, and then this is gonna be multi-spanning cell. And in the case of the multi-spanning cell, what we want to know is, so I'm going to think about X first, but obviously we need to solve for Y too, but I'm a one thing at a time kind of a problem solver, although I am also a little bit ADD, so it doesn't always work out, but we'll see how it goes. So we want to know if the number that was passed not only is equal, but it could be equal to anything between this and its X plus its width. So if cell grid position 0, that's its X. If that is less than the coordinates that we asked for, cell coordinates X, and oops, we want 0. And if that is less than, so less than or equal? Less than or equal? Less than or equal. Yeah, because 4, we should trigger on 4 as well. We definitely want equal. So if the current thing we're looking at is, if its X is less than or equal to the X that we asked about, and then if the X that we asked about is now less than that thing's X plus that thing's width. So that thing's X is this, and that thing's width is cell size 0. Now, probably I'm off by 1 here, and I could like reason through all the math and figure it out, but also I'm kind of a guessing checker, so what we're gonna do is set this up and then just test the cell that's at the far right edge of the space, and that is gonna tell us whether or not this part is right or not. Except for right now, this part is definitely not right because we need a colon. Let me catch up on the chat as well. You mean to build a USB touch keyboard for plugging into a computer? Yeah, keyboard that you plug into your computer, but it's a screen. Soft hard keyboard. That's kind of cool idea, actually. I do kind of like that. A soft keyboard that is a physical USB keyboard. Might be padding to take into account. Not sure if the cell... Yeah, we'll worry about the padding. I don't think the padding is gonna matter for us ultimately, but we'll see. Wow, no shape rectangle to do contains. Yeah, so we don't have just an easy thing to do a contains on like that. But I mean, that's what we're trying to make ultimately, effectively. So one thing you could do though, like on that, in that vein, you could, so right now we have a label inside all of these. One things we could do though is we could change all of these to be a button or a sprite button, either one. There's two kinds of buttons. These could be a button and they could still have their little letter on them, but then they would have a contains, and then you could loop over all of them and you could say contains the XY coordinates. That would work, I believe, fine. It's just like the looping is not necessarily as ideal. And then the other thing about it is like you need to have a button for each one of them, and that button occupies more memory than a label because it is a label plus some other stuff. So doing it the way that we're headed for here with our code means we'll be able to do it without the button, which means we can keep just the label. We don't need any extra objects, but we will effectively land on the same solution as being able to say like each individual cell if it contains the touch points. We'll just get there without actually having to, in our user code, loop over all of them. In this library code, in this function, it is effectively just looping over all of them still, but okay. Yeah, let's test space. Let's hit it with the manual reset. And I didn't actually catch all the way up on the chat as well, did I? Maybe I did. As someone who switches a lot between German and US ANSI, that would indeed be useful as a dev keyboard. Also does mouse. If it also does mouse. Oh, that would be interesting too. Yeah, if it could do mouse too. How's it going, Paul SK? Good evening to you. Or good day. Tyeth, hey, late to the party. Have I seen the icon animated example? I have, yeah. K-Mitch made icon animated for a project that I was working on at the time. So yeah, I've seen that one. Just played with it recently, had a quick check, and it uses contains, which is defined an icon widget, which calculates the widget's XY. Yes, so contains on icon widget is basically coming from widget, the superclass widget, and then, or control. It might be, I think it might be control actually, not widget. I think it's control. But in our case, so like, you know, we could make a label that extends control, and then our label would gain the contains function, because that's basically what control gives it. The control, I think of it as an interface. Python doesn't really have interfaces, but you know, class, parent class, basically. So we could extend control with like a special label, or even with label itself, and then you could do it again. Like you could then loop over your labels, and all of a sudden labels become buttons effectively. They get the contains function. That's possible. That would work. But yeah, I'm going to try to take this approach of, instead of, so like all of those approaches boil down to, it's the user code's job to loop all of these keys and then test each one to see if it contains. Whereas with the solution that I'm going for here, it will be the grid's layout's job, the helper class grid layout. You'll be able to give that grid layout your coordinates, and then it will figure out the rest for you, so that your user code does not have to worry about looping all these different things in here. Wonder if I try to contains if it would work. It won't, I don't think. I mean, it's possible that I'm wrong, but I'm like 99% sure it won't, because group is not what has contains. It is control. I'm almost positive. Maybe does group have a contains? Maybe group, am I missing now? So maybe group, did I add a contains? Does group have a contains? Either way though, I don't think each cell doesn't have a group. It has a label, and we can't be guaranteed that it will be a group. Label, I think, does extend group, but it might be tile grid, I'm not sure. But we can't guarantee we're gonna have a group, so we might have a tile grid, although you could make the case that tile grid should have contains too. Either way though, I want to do it with the grid layout here, because I really want the user code to not have to loop these. So honestly, even if those things exist, they're not how I want to do it. Group, I don't think can have contains though, because it doesn't know. It doesn't have like a width and a height group. Like by default, it doesn't keep a width and a height. So if group has contains, it would also have to loop over its children. But it's possible it got added at some point. Or if it's on tile grid, then it could be used here. But again, it's back to the looping in the user code versus the library code. Problem is often ugly code gets left behind. Yeah, I'm 1000% guilty of that. I have all sorts of guilty code in all kinds of places. Because I definitely am like a get it to work and then it works and I move on to something else. To a fault sometimes, for sure. How's it going, Keith to EE? Been a while since I've been able to catch this one. Hope everyone's doing great. Yep. Nice to see you, Keith. Hope you're doing great as well. So yes. So we printing a lot of stuff now. Where did our space go? Why did we not print space anymore? Oh, come on. Are you for real? Okay, I don't know. Something seems wrong with the saving, maybe. But I mean, were we on the old one when that happened the first time? Or is it after I already updated? I think it's after I already updated. There might be a storage issue on, when we updated to. Not positive, like I can't say for sure. PyCharm is trying to do way too much stuff in general, but that's actually the second time. And then we are also in safe mode again. So we got the same symptoms at least, which is I went to save and it just froze, and then we reset once and we came back to safe mode, and then I reset again and now I'm back to normal mode. Did I change that to 4.0? Or we messed it up because it's not checking the Y also. So we are right. We false positived on the 4 because we didn't bother to check the Y. Whoops. I guess both dimensions are pretty important. Fortunately, this means I get to go through here and find this again. Okay, so multi-spanning cell. So we're only true here also if I'm gonna say for right now and the cell grid position 1. Right now I'm gonna worry about just the case of equals. Right, we just disconnected again. How's it going, K-Match? Friday Widgets with Tim. Great day for deep diving. Yeah, for sure. Nice to see you, my friend. Boy, I think we might be having a problem here. I think I'm inclined to maybe take one back and see if we are still getting the same problem or not. Go pirate style as well. I'm stuck in safe mode, but okay. I'm accidentally triggering safe mode. Really not trying to. Trying to trigger bootloader, but I'm going too slow. Which gives you X, Y, and pressure. Yeah, we're not doing anything with pressure right now. Yeah. No, I don't think this would be probably not an issue with 8.2 anything. I could probably go to 8.2.9. My guess is it would be more stable, but I do not know. It could not. It could be a problem with my device as well, or it could be a problem with PyCharm. There's a bunch of places where the problem could lie right now. But by dropping back one, what we'll do is start to try to narrow it down. So if we don't have that anymore happen, then we know like it's related to something in Alpha 6. If we do keep getting it, then it's like either not related to Alpha 6 specifically, or it's like, you know, PyCharm is at fault, or my device, maybe I need a format or something, who knows. All right, so we want to check if the cell that we're checking has a Y value. For now, I'm just going to say equal to the cell that was asked about. And that should allow us to work on the spacebar example. Nice. Wait, we didn't actually, well, yeah. I mean, we got better at least. We're no longer false flagging on the 4, so that's good. False positive return, I mean. So we could, yeah, let's, no, 6. It's got to be the, we, what? I don't even know where those came from. All right, come on, space. Nice, we still got space. Okay, so let's try, so now the far edge, that's what we really want to test here. So now we're in the middle. We know now the middle works. 6, 7, 8, 9 is the far edge of space. So 9 should still be space, but the next one after that should be something else. Let's do both 9 and 10. And we should get space and then left arrow, although I don't think left arrow probably will print correctly in here. But it might, I don't actually know. Time to switch to mu. Maybe, but probably not, but maybe. I used mu for a little while. Mostly it'll be time to like update PyCharm and try to fix it, because it didn't used to do that. At some point I will want to try to get back to PyCharm working, because it's just my environment of choice. One thing I forgot is we're printing a bunch of stuff, so unfortunately our space is like way up here in this giant land of dictionaries, but we did get our next thing, which is probably that. Somehow we'd have to like Unicode something so we could figure out what it is, but it's probably that. Perfect. So 9 worked, 10 didn't. That means that our right edge is correct. That means that I guessed properly on my thing here. Technically, we don't have to... So for this keyboard right here, technically, we don't have any grid cells that are spanned vertically. So the code we have now actually will work for every key. But if we wanted this to actually support the grid layout and all the possible variations of cells, we would need to change this part here to basically be kind of like the first part. It needs to say cell position 1 less than or equal to cell coordinates 1, which is then going to be less than cell grid position 1 plus cell size. Whoa. So that should make it work for cells that actually span 2 rows, well, more than 1 row. It doesn't really matter how many, as opposed to spanning columns, which is what we have now. Let's turn off the print also. Let's turn off the print. Where's that print? Print. Nice. Okay, we're good. Let's do one thing. Not one thing, we got a bunch of things left to do. But the next thing I want to do is, let's do one up. Let's do the slash. Let's just like extra super duper make sure that our X coordinate is exactly what we think. So 10.3 right here, that should be the slash. So we should get space and then slash. Because my problem is if my logic inside here is wrong, then the whole rest of everything I want to build on top of it is going to be wrong. So I want to make extra certain that it's doing exactly what I think it's doing. And it is. Okay. So now we have it to where we can give it an XY coordinate, and then it will give us back the cell that is at that coordinate. The next thing we need to do is just convert our touch point, our pixel XY location, into grid coordinate system. Some cap touch displays in the 4 to 7 inch range would be nice, yeah. For all possible displays, make all the displays. Make all of them touch. On one of my projects, I use coordinates as calculations based on the Generix 4.3 height reference. I'm not familiar with that. Is a Generix 4.3 height reference? I don't know what that is. Okay. So now our grid has a width and a height, yes? The next part should be pretty easy, right? We just need to know like our cell size, and then we just need to do some like division with our cell size and our width. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have height and width in pixels. Typodemon, sorry? Generic. Oh, no worries. Hypodemon. No worries. Generic 4x3. Width height difference. Maybe it does not actually have this. Is it? I think. Am I misremembering? It's not. Is it not width and height? But it's like there's one that gives you all four, right? It's like size maybe or. Grid layout extends group. I mean, there's underscore width and underscore height, so I guess we can use those. Let's run it like this. I mean, it should crash if the IDE is to be believed that those don't exist. While that's going, we can figure out where our width and height go once they get set. Like, what is this used for? Okay, this will be helpful. This gives us the size in pixels of a single cell. We still need the width though. Right now, and the width is only available on underscore width, which is kind of lame, truthfully. Let's make it width. That's going to be an int. And that is going to be the width in pixels of the grid layout. What's wrong with this? I think it's just mad because there's no code inside of it. It's definitely wrong for something else. I guess this is wrong, right? Yeah, there we go. We want height also. How about these? These are, I feel like these are new. It's only want to be one, I guess. Moo won't help if the font doesn't display. No, I think it was saying moo because PyCharm seemed to be locking up my device. Something's locking up my device, or it did twice. Spell height wrong? Yeah, I did. For example, tft.drawCircle, my width times 8/16, my height times 14/24, my width times 4/16, minus 1. So the 16 by 24, well, that's a 2 by 3. Eight to 20. Sorry, yeah, I'm still not sure how the 4 by 3 factors in. That's, oh, that makes sense actually, because we have one less for I will say I'm a very like visual person though, honestly. Like just looking at a formula, there are very, 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 very few formulas I can just look at and know what's going on with it. I really need to like run it and see what it does on a screen and then like play with some of the variables. And once I've done that and been able to like watch what happens when I change inputs and outputs and stuff, then I can start to understand what the what the math is doing, what the equation is doing. That's for a 320 by 240, I gotcha. Rotated as well. Okay, so 478, is that right? What are we making here? Let's double check. So where does layout? So there's this. Okay, so our width is the width of the entire display, which is 480 minus 2, so we end up on 478, which is perfect, and our height is 320 minus 100, which leaves us at 220, which means that our cell size, print cell size, that is now layout.get cell size. What is that thing called? Cell size pixels. Not the best name necessarily. Is that a property or a function? It's a property. Okay, so print that as well. That should give us the number of pixels inside each cell, which should basically get us almost all the way to where we need to be in order to translate our touch point in pixels into our coordinate, our cell coordinate system. Because now what we're going to do is we have the height and width of each cell. So on our touch point, we're going to go what? We are going to go, well, we want a function, first of all. Property, this is not a property, this is a function. Def, I'm gonna just go with this name for right now, which cell contains. So that is gonna take a pixel coordinates location, pixel location. And that is gonna return either a tuple or none. So optional tuple. So first thing we can do is throw out any pixel locations that are outside the entire grid. If it's not in the grid, then it's definitely not in any of the grid cells, so we don't care about it for this purpose. Should work out on smaller displays as the lid is dependent on the display. Yes. Yeah, it should adapt itself down. Okay, so we want to check if it's in the bounds of our entire layout. So if self.x is less than or equal to pixel location 0, and if that is now less than self.x plus self.width, this will tell us if the x coordinate is inside of the grid layout. So we can say and we can basically have the same stuff for Y. Because if it's outside the whole grid layout, then none of the cells are the cell that it intersects with. We get past that, then we know that our touch point is inside of our grid layout. So now the next thing is we figure out which cell it is by dividing the location X. Somehow we're going to need to factor in the X and the Y. I don't know exactly how. Somehow that's going to have to go in. Column equals row width divided by cell width. Row equals grid height, cell height. From memory, that gives you an XY grid, which you can look into an array. Yeah, that's stubbornly harder than it looks. I think the / floor division will be used to have an interval. Yeah, we can do / to get the int. So we take the location X, we divide that by the, I'm going to keep the cell size as a thing here. Let's go cell size equals layout dot. I don't know the name of it again already. Cell size pixels, I was on the right. Self though, that's why that's not working. Okay, let's keep that so that we can refer back to it. So now we divide our X by our cell size X, but we have the X problem. Cell X chord. Cell Y chord equals pixel location 1. Cell size, that should be 1 and that should be 0. Turn. Let's just do that for now. That's going to be all wrong. So it's going to be all wrong. We need to offset by the XY, but where does the offset go? This is where like being visual kills me, because like if I could just see it on the screen, I'll know exactly where it goes. But all right, I guess let's just try running it and see what it does. Well, we're not calling our function, so it's not going to do anything. Let's go down here and let's say if we have a touch point, then pass it into our new function, which is called layout dot which cell contains pixel location P print. So I think we're gonna have problems. I don't think it's going to register correctly. We might change our Y coordinate while we test this. It is actually getting a guess, which I'm kind of surprised at. So it thinks we're touching 0, 2, but the problem is if I touch up here, it thinks we're touching 0, 1. It also implies that our logic for the bounds of the layout is wrong, right? All right, when in doubt, print it out. That's how it goes. F string, let's go. I always like to just put my whole condition in a big string like this. That way I can right away just see what is wrong. Kyle just jumped in. What is he working on? I am, first of all, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm working on logic that is taking the touch coordinates of where we touch on the screen and trying to figure out which key in the soft keyboard was pressed. Take advantage of integers. Yeah, yep. Are we on 0, 0? Yeah, no, our top left is messed up for sure, but I don't know exactly how. Need to subtract the, yeah, somehow we need to do that. Subtract or add something, one of the two. We need to subtract or add the x and the y from something. Hopefully these printouts are going to help us find out what. Well, it's not going to get us all the way there, though, still. But this should help us at least troubleshoot the first condition here. Oh, okay. I know what the problem here is, actually. It's that this shouldn't be and, right? So let's just quick sanity check here. Is 2 less than 144? Yeah. This is less than equals, technically, but it's counting. Is 2 less than 144? Yeah, it sure is. Then is 144 less than 2 plus 478? Yeah, that's 480, so 144 is definitely less than that. So our x coordinate was within the grid layout, but our y coordinate was not. Our y coordinate actually says, you know, is 100 less than 59? No. Not. So we actually want or, because what we want is if we're outside the x or we're outside the y, then that should be returning none. If you still have the default sprite buttons in the menu. No, I don't have any, no buttons anymore. I have only the grid layout and all of its contents. Okay, there we go. We're actually getting none now for this stuff out here, which is good. Okay, so let's try that right there. So it got 0, 2. 0, 3 on Q, 0, 4 on A. So we're kind of like off by Y. We need to then subtract it from, no, add it. Subtract it. We need to take the number that came in and subtract Y. And we need to do that before the division, which means we need parentheses. And I'm just going to guess this is probably the exact same logic, although it's going to be way harder for us to tell with our width only being 2 less than the display, but because it's not at the top of the screen. Yes. Exactly right, yep. Look up some old tkinter code. Column equals x over width plus margin. Row equals y over height plus margin. And then those are over with integer division. So those are going to toss out decimals. Aha, there we go. Okay, so 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, Heck yeah, we are good. 0, 1, I came down to Q. So W would be 1, 1. Control, that's 1, 4. Alt, that's 2, 4. Space, that's... Okay, so where I touched it was 5, 4, but 4, 4 is the first one. Actually, 1, 4 and 2, 4 are both control, actually. Well, no, 0, 4. 0, 4 and 1, 4 are both control. Alt would actually be 2, 4 and 3, 4. Okay, let's get rid of some of the spam. We are printing more than we need. Could probably just nuke these actually altogether. Found this reference in Google once I got some proper search terms. Definitely relate to that, where you're like looking around for something and you just don't know the right words to, you know Google has this knowledge if you just knew the right way to ask for it. I just had one of those actually yesterday or the day before. I think of what it was, but okay, let's see. We should be able to just let's stop printing this. We stopped printing those, so we were now only going to be printing which cell contains. So we're only printing one thing per iteration. Cool. One thing you'll notice is I am getting a little bit of slip. Like sometimes what I touch, it's getting the next one over. I think debouncing is going to help with that. And you know what we don't have on here is a backspace or a delete. You might need a, well, I guess maybe that's part of your menu, I suppose. There is this, I guess, which is like reset, it looks like. I suppose that's kind of like a delete all type thing. It might be nice to lose. It might be nice to lose Control and Alt and gain delete and backspace. Unfortunately, the bottom left corner is not the most intuitive spot for delete or backspace, but like, ironically for me, it is kind of because I use my left thumb down there, but I don't know how the ordering could work. Maybe reset could move. Everything else is kind of spoken for though, because it's like part of QWERTY, so maybe the way my keyboard is, these two arrows are on the other, you know, effectively they're on the other side of what would be the space. So I have like up, down, or over here, and then right, left, or over here. That would free up a slot over here, which could become either delete or backspace, and then the other slot there could be the other. Anyway, reset would do it as well. I assume the idea would be when you click this one, it will kind of empty back out your text. You're gonna replace them with special characters, caps up arrow. Oh yeah, like a caps, like a shift lock basically. Some things will do like if you hold on shift, turn on the lock. Something would have to have the logic for how long you've held though. Okay, let's try to, so let's get a little bit of debouncing, which I'm not gonna actually do literal real debouncing. What I'm gonna do is just time.sleep it. But what I'm also gonna do is try to make an indicator of what button got pressed. So we are getting our which cell contains. So let's say touched cell is equal to that. We don't really need to print it because we're going to be able to see it visually after this if it works. Do I have 2 commas? Yeah, it looks like there are 2 commas actually. I had not noticed that before. But yeah, it looks like there are 2. Good eye, Gordy G. I don't know if they're different somehow, but it does look like there's 2. But shift where control is. Yeah, bottom left, that could be. I guess happy holidays. Yeah, happy holidays to you as well, Jeff. Got to run, but it's been interesting watching CircuitPython dude work. Yeah, take it easy, Jeff. Hope you have a nice day and weekend and all that. Happy holidays to you if you're celebrating as well. Move shift to the left to give... Oh, yeah, that was back up there. Okay. Honestly, didn't know what to put there, so just added arrows. I got you. Yeah, it's kind of one of the tricky problems with mobile keyboards too, is like when you have a soft keyboard, it means you can change the keys out. And so it's this dance of like, which keys are most relevant to the user right now? It's kind of like always changing depending on what the context is. Eventually it might be cool. I don't know if you've thought about this at all, DJ Devin, but one of the things I thought of, it might be kind of cool to encapsulate this keyboard as a library so that folks could be able to just kind of like create a soft keyboard object and add that to their group, and then like everything else is kind of encapsulated in a class. I think that'd be super neat to have it just built up and ready for you to treat it like a soft keyboard and not worry about all the details of rendering it yourself and worrying about which thing got touched. You could be able to just ask it like, hey, which thing got touched. You won't have to tell it to render. You could also then build in a couple variations of like, include number row or don't include number row, include control and alt or don't include. You could have a couple of different, you could even do key layouts and stuff like that if you wanted to take it super far. But oddball idea could be memory intensive, have a color bitmap. Yeah, what I'm going to try to do is that basically. So it is a little bit memory intensive, but the thing is we actually are cheating a little bit because our labels are already there and our labels are already consuming memory. I think we will not need to consume any more because we can just make use of the label that we have already, which effectively is going to be backed by a bitmap, which is taking up memory. So we'll say the touched cell was that, and remember that's going to be the tuple. So next up we want to, from our tuple, get our cell object, what I call like a view, typically is how I think of it, but it doesn't have an official name, I don't think. So we're going to say layout.getCell. We're not going to pass 9.4. Instead, that's going to be the touched cell. And then we are going to say, we need to say if touched cell. So because that's going to be none if they didn't touch a cell. So if that's not none, then we say layout.getCell. That's going to be our label. So from there, I'm pretty sure we got like a background color action, maybe? Background color? Background color time.sleep of, I don't know, let's give it a little bit. And then set it back. Backgorned? Backgorned. That's a thing, isn't it? Backgaforned. Okay, yeah, that's also wrong. I think that will work. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Yeah, I have a class for one of the attributes is display group and then coordinates to key to vat value. It's a bit sad that it's an ortho keyboard. That is not a bit sad. Ortho keyboards are the best, thank you. But the internet is full of hardware ortho keyboards. I could see a C64 virtual keyboard or ZX Spectrum virtual keyboard, but we need to make more flexible on key position. One thing I will say, grid layout, which is what's being used to render this, going to be very hard to use grid layout for a non-ortho keyboard. It could be done, but you would need to cheat, basically. You would need to like cheat your cells to all be 2x1 instead of 1x1, and then that way you could offset by half, which is actually one cell instead of a fraction of a cell. Because it doesn't work with fractions, so it would not easily support the non-ortho case. But also, ortho keyboards are better. My opinion. Now that I have seen the light, honestly don't know what's best. It was just a thing I need to make. Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, once we get this into a library, there's a million different ways it can be extended or added upon or all that kind of stuff. Like, you have laid the groundwork, which I think is awesome, by the way. Yeah, let's try it out. Did I run it? I'm going to run it just in case. I don't want to, like, anticlimactic touch it, and then I didn't even run it. You have to make all... Yeah. Yep. Like, if you wanted one that was non-ortho, my recommendation would be to either not use grid layout or to modify grid layout to support it better, to make offsets that are arbitrary by pixels. You could you could cheat it by making each one 2x1, and then like they'll technically be bigger or smaller or whatever, but heck yeah, look at that. So one thing is, I was expecting it to do the padding, which it didn't, but that's fine. It's like we're able to tell what we touched. It would be nice probably to change the color of the label too, because right now what's happening, I don't know how well is it coming through. That comes through pretty well. So right now, the one thing is that the white of the foreground text and the green, I chose a bright green, which like gets washed out in the camera here, but it's not... There's not enough contrast. You can't really see the letter when the green is showing. So what would be nice is if we show the green and then at the same time, let's, I guess, save that. Touched cell. I'm just going to call it view because, again, that's like what I think of these objects as, even though there's not a word called that in CircuitPython. I mean, technically it's a label in this case, but like from the grid layout's perspective, it could be any thing that's allowed to be put inside of a group, which is any tile grid or group. Label extends one of those two, so counts as well. I think we have color. Is it color or label color? Especially for the pinkies. Hexagonal keyboards are not better, but are cooler. I'd probably agree with that. Hexagonal keyboards probably would, I'd say, look cooler than ortho. I mean, I will say, I mean, honestly, a regular non-ortho probably looks cooler than an ortho. It's just that once you use an ortho, the C key, right? The C key is the biggest stickler for me. Once I started using an ortho, then every non-ortho, the C key just feels like way in the wrong spot. And it makes it so that you kind of, like for me at least, it made it so I was using the wrong finger to type C. Like C, I guess, is technically a middle finger, it's supposed to be a middle finger type, but on non-orthos, for me at least, it's more natural to go ring finger. But then my ring finger is doing double duty on X and C, which is weird. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about the C key and why I think ortho keyboards have better placement of the letter C. Oh my, okay, yeah, we do not need caps lock. I'm assuming white was what these were set to. We could go back and check in a minute. It's like off-white, we'll change it to that. We want to match what it was before, hopefully. Yep, exactly right. Yeah, whenever you do change to a light background, then you can do a dark foreground so that you retain some contrast. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, so the padding looks weird, you know, like on P, you can't really see the left edge very well. There's a couple, like, you could tweak the padding and come up with some ways to make it look prettier, but this is good enough for sure. And the accuracy is actually pretty good. I was a little worried if the accuracy was going to work out, but the accuracy, honestly, looks really good. Like, we're hitting those perfectly on the key that I would expect for every single one of these. Okay. Let us... It is 5:30 my time. Let us make one more input and make it seem like we're typing stuff into it. Because its resistance is designed to be used with the stylus or a fingernail, but I've noticed the finger print can actually work well. I think I missed something here. Catch up. Would have to make it half cells. Yep. Iteration after the initial logs through proof of concepts is always easier. May go with the opposite to background. Yep. Iteration. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, iteration. Okay. What else do we want? So let's make a label up top. Let's do it before the grid layout. I will call this input label. Trying to think if there's... If I change this padding, we could make it to where our box is going to be bigger, but it's still not really going to do what I want ultimately, so I don't think I'm going to mess with it. All right, we'll make a label. That's going to be what? We need the font, so let's say TerminalIO font for now. Just go default font. I will go scale 2 so that it can be as big as the keyboard letters. I will say text equals empty to start with. Color equals white, which I think might be the default, but I'm not sure. Background color. Okay. All right, so when you press a key, there's a bunch of different ways that you could do this. Here's what I'm gonna do. Alpha numeric. Below my left middle finger is J. Whoa. Do you use non-QWERTY? Or do you have your left hand like in what I would call a weird spot? It's not really weird, it's wherever you put your hand is fine, honestly, but like, you keep your hand not on the home row? Or it must be not QWERTY, right? Alphanumeric. So I'm just gonna make a big list of all the possible alphanumerics. And let's say we're actually going to call these ASCII chars. Be chars instead of chars, but I always say chars in my head, which is the Java teacher I had would disprove. Basically, I want a very easy way to say, is the key that they pressed one of the keys that can be represented in our input? Because, like, enter is not a thing that shows up in the input, other than, like, it could be a new line, I guess, but we're not doing new lines right now. You know, shift is not a thing that shows up in the input, although it could modify what you put in there. So I want to be able to answer that question of, is the thing that got pressed a showable ASCII character or not? Is it one of the like special keys or whatever instead? So the way I'm going to do that is make a big tuple that contains all these showable ASCII characters. Then we're going to be able to say if a thing is in that or not. We do whatever. Okay, I do not think I'm gonna make it to the end of this live stream without needing to start dancing. So so I think in just a moment here, I'm gonna go and run to the restroom and then come back. HIJKLMNO. Perhaps not the most efficient way to have done this, but okay. BRB. Dvorak, nice. Okay. That is much better. So we made it to Z. We need what? We need some things like comma, dot, slashes, quotes, literal slashes, not break everything because it's escape character. I'm gonna do single quote here so I can start on the new line and put these two next to each other because it feels like they're friends, right? We wouldn't want to separate them. I don't know. That feels cruel and unusual. Okay. I think we got everything, right? We got our tick mark, we got our minus, we got our equals, we got our square brackets, we got both slashes. We got our single quote, semicolon. Would not be able to write JavaScript code. That'd be a shame. All right, now we got everything, I think. Oh, space. But space. Yeah, I'm not gonna do space in this one. We'll handle space separately for now. See where that leads us. So now, when the user presses a key, we want to get the key label. Key text is equal to this dot text. If key text is in ASCII chars, then we say input label dot text plus equals key text. Did I set an XY on that input label? I don't think I did. Do it something like that. Whole bottom row can be handled differently. Yeah. Yeah, we'll need separate logic for the non-printable, the non-ASCII characters, including the space bar, even though space is ASCII, but we have the whole word, so. Yeah, we'll need that for the arrows, for the control, the shift, everything, we'll need that kind of stuff. Wouldn't the space just be space or empty string? It could be a string with a space, a literal space bar inside of it, but we don't need it because what we're going to test for is the word space. We could put it in there and we could eventually maybe still use it from there, but we're going to have to test for it separately anyway, so I'm just going to do that, I think. All right, so let's say B crash. Nice. Okay, touched cell view is not defined. Yeah, because I did that obviously before we did this, so you just cannot do that. And then also, of course, that means this needs to be down here. Okay, let's try that. Spacebar is really just multiple occurrences. I don't know if there's a space there or no. Is that an empty string? No, it has a space. Wow, Discord spaces are really thin. Yeah, the label, yep, exactly right. The value that's showing in the keyboard, that's our key. And in the case of the ASCII ones, that's our literal what we're gonna type for right now. We'll worry about uppercase, lowercase, like shift I understand is here, which would be uppercase, lowercase. This version is not gonna handle that just yet, but it should at least let us type. Okay, I did not add it to the group. Let's add input label to main group. I didn't do that. Main group dot append input label. Hit it again. Let me see. Let's go. R B L I N K A. Ooh, our A doesn't work. Did I not put A? What's wrong with our A? I didn't put A in the list. Oh, it's right there. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Why would that? Okay, well, a few things here. Input label is teal instead of white, which is... Okay, that's because we only got 5 Fs. Why does our A not work? Do all the rest of the letters work? The equal sign doesn't work. There's going to be no wrapping as well, so we're just going to run right off the edge here. Okay, almost everything works. Like A does not work and equal sign does not work. Which is really weird. But like it's turning colors. Is there a space? Maybe it's a space. No, it's just A by itself. That's interesting. Oh. Okay, so froze up again. So it's not the version of CircuitPython, or if it is, it goes back to at least the prior version as well. It means we should be in safe mode. Yes. Refresh again to get back to regular. Then here, I guess I really want the changes. I don't know how to I wish this would get out of my way and let me get my code. No, terminal IO has to have the characters because they're visible in the grid, right? If it didn't have the character, it wouldn't show here. And I mean, is that a different font? I mean, no, 1,000%. If terminal IO font was missing A, somebody would have noticed it. So I am confident that it does have A. Equal sign, I'm less so, but A, I'm very confident. And equal sign, I'd say I'm pretty sure, but just not as confident. And it is definitely terminal IO font here. There's A. Yeah. So if it didn't have that in terminal IO font, then it couldn't show it here either. That's still teal. That's because we didn't save last time. Gosh. I should start copying my CodePy before I save. That way, if it fails on me, then I bet you I'm missing a comma. Yep. Okay, that's exactly why the equal sign and the A are broken. No comma in between here. And in Python, one of the few things about it that does drive me a little crazy is when you have two strings with no comma or other operator in between them, they just get anded together silently. The rest of your program just runs, and you're like, what? Forgot to copy. All right. Haven't done space yet. I think I accidentally touched with my finger up here in the corner, and that caused a 7. So we're just going to go with blink a 7 equals. Fun. Okay. Oh wow, Discord is gone? I just fall off the internet? Hmm. I'm pretty sure Discord just died. Yeah. Alright, well, we were here then. Wow. Yeah, it's just, that's Discord right now. Seemingly for everybody. Alright, well, that's alright. YouTube's okay so far. Yeah, the stream is still here. That's super weird. Discord is like wrecked. I bet if you hit up Twitter right now or search through, the last time I searched Twitter, I used a thing called Knitter so that you could search without signing in. I don't know if there's other ones, but I bet if you hit up Twitter right now, you'll be finding people blowing it up, talking about Discord being wrecked. Okay, let's do our space real quick, and then I'll probably wrap it up here pretty fast. So elif key text equals space. Then we want to add a space, a literal space. So we just go plus equals there. I can't recall ever seeing Discord do that before, honestly. To just go blink out of existence for everybody at once like that. I don't recall. I mean, like, here and there I'll have problems with it. Like, the client will be wonky for a little bit on a certain day or whatever, but to have it just suddenly blink gone for everybody is pretty nuts. Hopefully they didn't delete anything too important. Try not to touch the screen here. We should have a space equals space fun. Sweet. Improved mobile experience has arrived. This week we'll begin rolling out to all users new mobile updates, including Midnight Theme, Supercharged Research, and so much more. Is that a Discord release notes? Sounds like the way they write their release notes. With the, I don't know what those are called, but these little sparkly things I feel like I see in their release notes a lot. All right. So we've got the basics. Some things that are not working yet is like the arrow keys don't do anything. The shift doesn't do anything. The control and alt. I think the control and alt are not going to do anything for this one because this one's all about typing in, and control and alt don't modify what you type. Shift, it would be nice to have. Right now we are in shouty mode only, so everything we type is uppercase. If we wanted shift to work, what we would need to do is send our characters to lowercase by default, but then actually, you know what? We don't have multi-touch. Therefore shift needs to be, I would almost argue shift should just be like caps lock. Because you can't like hold shift and then press a letter. I guess the way that works on the mobile phone though is like you tap shift and then you tap a letter, and then the first letter you tap after shift gets shifted and then shift turns off. And if you have caps lock on, which is usually done by long pressing shift, then you keep pressing letters and they keep being uppercase. Okay. Anyway, though, the point was the shift doesn't do anything yet. The control and alt don't do anything. The enter doesn't do anything. The reset doesn't do anything. The arrows don't do anything. So everything else works, but those things don't. It is able to be used as a basic input like this, which is super cool. There's definitely still work to do to encapsulate this into like a keyboard class that could then go in its own library, be just a ready-made component. Oh, I think we're back. Shockingly, OBS actually managed to come back and pick up the chat on us too as well, which is pretty crazy. If nothing else, one thing I will say to them, to Discord, is like props that their thing came back without being refreshed, right? Like I didn't touch it and it managed to come back and start working enough for OBS to pick it up even. All right. I think I'm going to call it for now. I am definitely ready to get up and stretch out and move around and do some other stuff for a while. I will wait for the sirens to pass because I don't know how much of that's getting picked up by the microphone. I will be back tomorrow morning. For folks that are interested in more CircuitPython action, I'll be around tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. Over on my own channel, so here we're on the Adafruit channel, I'll be over on Foamy Guy. If you are interested, you can just hit up the Discord, assuming it's working. In the live broadcast chat, I always post links in there when I'm getting started. I will be back for that tomorrow. I don't know about next week. I'm not ready to say for sure on next week or not. But yeah, definitely tomorrow I'll be around for that. So come on by if you're around in the morning and want to watch some more CircuitPython action. Otherwise, I will say have a good night. Have a good weekend. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you next time. Although, do remember again, this is the last deep dive for the year. So January whatever the first Friday is, January 5th would be the first opportunity. I'm not saying for 100% sure that there's going to be a deep dive that day, but that's the first one where there's even a chance for it. So until then, potentially, or perhaps the week after, so long. Thanks for hanging out for all of the deep dives that you have watched this year, and I will